Well, good evening, everybody. It took me a minute to get myself together, but I'm so glad you're here. This is Friday. It is time for the live tribe, and I can't type. Don't try to do it at the last minute. Anyway, tonight is all about taking the next steps in building and using checklists because, this month is all about checklists. So, we're bombarded every day, seemingly all day, with distractions and information just coming at us everywhere. We're overloaded with it, just too much coming in. And at the same time, we've got to make a lot of decisions. And today I'm going to talk to leaders of volunteer organizations, leaders of companies, leaders of families, leaders, people who are leading is who I'm talking to, because as leaders, we're making decisions with and for other people regularly. And so if you're making decisions with a team, checklists can be a way to help you get that done in a way that's not overwhelming and it doesn't cause you decision fatigue. Truly, checklists are our trusted ally in this journey of leadership. So I'm excited to have you here with us tonight and want you to communicate with me, ask questions. If you have a question, put a Q colon in front of it, and I will be glad during the Q&A portion of tonight, I'll be glad to answer your questions. So let's get right into what we're talking about. And tonight is how leaders use checklists to make decisions and reduce team overwhelm. So if you work with a team of any sort, your job, your business, your faith organization, anything else where you are leading, you're going to get value tonight, and I want to hear from you. So let's go ahead and see who's in the building with us tonight, and then we'll jump right into it. So I'm going to start out by saying good evening to Anne Marie. Welcome to the stream tonight. And of course, good evening to the emotional CEO who's saying hello to the live tribe. Yes, those who are in chat who are commenting, you're part of the live tribe, but you may not be commenting, but you're watching because you're doing something else at the same time, or you're listening. Welcome to the live tribe. And for those who are not here with us and you're catching us on the replay, welcome. Leave a comment below and we'll surely get back to you. I will surely get back to you with a comment back and answering a question. So the first thing I'm going to talk about tonight is how to streamline your decision making. I said earlier that making decisions as a leader can be daunting, but using a checklist is really the way to streamline it. And why do I say that? It's because it makes the decision making less burdensome. And by that I mean it puts order in place and it ensures that you don't overlook an important detail. So a simple, non-complicated checklist, but the checklist is geared toward helping you and your team make a complex decision. It's what I'm referring to. You can create a checklist in a Google Doc. You can create it in a text file. You can create it in anything. You can create it on your phone as long as you create it with your team in mind and you're creating it to ensure you're making these decisions. They provide a structured approach to figuring out what the decision is. They eliminate going back and forth in emails and text messages and phone calls to make a decision. Because everyone is looking at the entire team, right? Whether it's you and two people, you and one person, or as some people I know, you and hundreds of people on your team having to make a decision about something in your family, in your business, or in your volunteer service. But a decision has to be made using a checklist that the entire team is following streamlines your decision making. It also produces less overwhelm for you and your team. Why? Everyone is looking at the same list in the same order, in the same structure to get to a final decision. So that's the first thing they do. They streamline your decision making with an easy, straightforward, step-by-step guide. You're not running ahead on step 10 when everybody else is on step 2. Everybody on the team is on step 2 until step 2 is done. Then you move to step 3. Interesting story. I've literally have been living this, so maybe this is why it's on my mind. I've been living this in my life recently. Have a lot of several, I'll say it this way, several high priority decisions that are having to get made, and I'm having to make decisions with lots of different people. Like when I say lots, like 20, 30 different people, and everyone has an opinion. Yesterday, I had enough. I sat down, I wrote out a checklist, and I said, we will work through this checklist in this order. Everybody get on board, because this is crazy. I'm getting emails and text messages from every which way. So I'm eating my own medicine here, because I had to go through this. Now, in my case, it's in the context of my work, but it doesn't have to be in the context of your work. Whenever you have decisions to be made with the team. We've got someone else here in the building with us that I want to recognize and acknowledge, and that is none other than the fabulous Denise Jordan. Denise, I missed you last night because I was in a work meeting, but I'm going to go back and watch because I loved what, let's see, am I on Friday? No, it was Wednesday. I was in a meeting at work and I missed you, but I'm going to go back and watch it. So thank you for always keeping us straight. And thank you for sharing you like the idea of a checklist. We want to move from the idea to execution. Thank you for putting that out there. Definitely want to move into execution. The second reason in way that as a leader, in a nonprofit, again, in your business, in your family, in your faith organization, you need to customize checklists for specific situations. Now, this is where it can be a little unusual, because when I started using checklists, I thought they were all the same. I made one and I never had to change it. But that I found was not true. I can take one checklist and take parts of it and customize it for a similar but not exact situation. So being willing to start with an existing checklist and tailoring it for a specific situation. And in fact, that's what I did with this work that I shared with you earlier. I took a checklist that I'd used on another engagement, and I started to tailor it for this work that I'm doing here with all these people that we're making decisions about something. So tailoring checklists or customizing them for a specific purpose or a specific decision that's similar but not exact. Some examples, and I'm going to talk to people who are my audience, those people who are the people that I want to reach and help. If you're running an organization where you have to plan a conference every year or twice a year, you're planning a conference and you're leading a team that's planning a conference, there are specific decisions that must be made every year. Starting over without a base checklist, the things that may need to be customized. There may be different decisions because of the venue. There may be a few different decisions because of the caterer. There may be different decisions because of who your panel of speakers are. But the core of that master checklist is the same. I use this today. I run a webinar series. And so we have guests come in and talk about women in the workplace and how to be more effective and get a seat at the table and advocate for yourself and build your network. All the things that women sometimes, we struggle a little bit with. So every other month, we have a guest speaker. We've got to source the speaker. We've got to set up the communication and the publication and all the things. We take a base checklist and then we customize it or tailor it for that particular speaker for the next webinar. The core changes, but then there are parts that the core stays the same, but there are parts that change. Rather than starting over, we just take an existing one and modify it for the next webinar. So customizing for specific situations with specific people is a great way to move quickly, have your team, more importantly, know what to do because they get accustomed to making changes quickly. Then they just run through it, and each step of the way they're making a decision, but they know where they are in the decision-making process and what decision is made, what decision has to be made next, what the factors are that are important in making that decision. So using them, but customizing them is a powerful way to go. Let me say, if you are getting value today, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. And if you're watching on the replay and you have not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. August is a deep dive into checklists. So this is week 2, talking about using checklists to be effective, to boost your productivity. So looking forward to seeing you a part of the Equipping You community as a subscriber. And then we'll talk later about how you can get some additional resources. So the third piece is, now that we've created these decision-making checklists, we have some base checklists. We've got our team on board using them. We also need to update them regularly. I shared that when I started using checklists, specifically when I started using checklists with my teams, I thought they were going to stay the same. What I found was I needed to update them. People come, people go. The way people think is different. I remember creating an onboarding checklist. Now, this one's not about making decisions, but it'll give you the example what I mean by regularly updating and revising it. When I look back today at that onboarding checklist and look at the first version of it, they are dramatically different. The reason they're dramatically different is because each time I had a new team member follow it, I got their feedback. Did it work? What confused you? Was the wording clear? Were the links correct? What would you like to see differently, or what would you like to see added? And each time I got their feedback, I would update the checklist. And so today, I have a checklist that when a new team member joins, that person knows exactly what they need to do each step of the week, from day 1 to the time we finish. I know exactly what I need to do, and it's in a specific order so we don't get ahead of ourselves. There's no decisions to be made because the decisions have already been made, and they're getting revised and updated by getting real feedback from the people who are affected by it. That's that regularly updating and revising checklist. This process here works with every team you have. It works with your family. It works with people you're doing volunteer work with, service, whether you may be planning a family reunion. It still works. It works with people who work with you in your business. It even works with third parties. I just believe, and I know from my own experience, whenever I don't use these types of tools and instruments, I find myself confused and overwhelmed. And we know what being overwhelmed is. We get overwhelmed and our team members get overwhelmed. when we've made so many decisions that we're just simply tired of making decisions. Using these checklists to make decisions removes that stress and that overwhelm. And if it doesn't completely remove it, I submit it does. But if it doesn't for someone, it reduces it so that you can handle it. And your mind is not constantly holding on to pieces and parts of information that you can let go and simply put in a simple document. So we've got somebody else who's joined us, a couple of other folks. I want to say good evening, welcome. And if you've got comments or questions, just put the comment in. We'll come back to it. If you've got questions, please put Q colon in front of it, and I will come back and ask your question. So if you have a question about using, creating, updating, checklist, especially working with the team to make decisions, put a Q colon in front of it, and I will be glad to answer. Well, good evening, Miss Miller, Gwen Miller, welcome. And hello to someone who is awesome and with us regularly, Tech Troublemaker. Great. I know that you use checklists sometimes, Roy, so I would love to hear your comments about how you use them and whether you use them with your teams or not, and how you use them with your teams. So that's really, regularly updating really does get rid of some of that stress and being overwhelmed. And it also allows you and your team to get clear. You may start with one. I shared this onboarding. You start one way, and through the revision process, everyone on the team gets clear. And I submit it is the leader's responsibility. I didn't say the boss, I said the leader. We're not talking about positional leadership. We're talking about true leadership. That is, you're leading people regardless of what your title is. You may be, quote unquote, the low man on the totem pole and be the most powerful leader in the entire organization. So we're not talking about positions. We're talking about leadership. As the leader, I would submit to you one of the best things you can do for you and your team is to deploy or implement or start to use, whichever word works for you, checklists in the context of decisions, big, small, complex, or simple, decisions to be made regularly and one time in your organization. Again, your organization may be your family, your organization may be your business, your organization may be your house of faith, your organization may be community service, it could be anything. But whatever that organization is where you are a leader, you're leading other people, 1 people, 10,000 people, more than that, and everything in between. This process of using checklists is a time saver, meaning instead of spending time going back and forth and wandering, you're using the time to execute, and everybody is moving faster. You're not wasting precious minutes that no one can get back. So that's what I have to share with you all today. If you have a question, please go ahead and put Q colon in front of it, and I will be glad to answer it. We're going to wrap up with action steps, and these are very simple. I want to keep it very easy, something you can do. This is something each and every one of us can do. It's not hard. Open up a notepad, open up a Google Doc, open up a Word doc, whatever tool you use. Last week I shared Google Keep, fantastic, easy to use tool to create a checklist, and then choose a decision to build a checklist around. Whatever that decision is, again, big, small, complex, simple, but a decision that you and your team has to make, and make a checklist to get through that decision-making process. Then choose it, but don't necessarily do all the work yourself. But if you do have something, still meet with your team to design the checklist. And if you have a checklist, ask for feedback every time that checklist is used, to continue to refine it and update it to get it to be the best, so that there is no confusion for anyone on the team, and you can take it and drop it in. As I say, you can parachute your team in with the checklist and everybody will run like a well-oiled machine. The last thing is, I'm huge on this, and that is do an evaluation after you use that checklist for about 3 weeks. Go back and do the assessment. Ask yourself and your team questions. Is it working? Is it not working? What did we miss? What did we add that we need to take out? What do we need to rephrase? This kind of gets into that revise and update regularly, but do a real evaluation of that decision and of the associated checklist that's being used to make the decision. I want to take a break here, and I want to say hello to someone. Not only do I want to say hello and thank you for seeing it's an excellent presentation and very practical. I aim to be practical. Thank you very much. But I also want to say happy birthday to you. Go enjoy your birthday. You all, NBA Sports Talk with Walter Strong III. If you have not been here before and this is your first time watching, Mr. Strong is my YouTube mentor, and so I always want to honor him. And I have a comment here from Denise. She says, I need to build a checklist about how to add assets to Dropbox. It's such a scramble trying to find things because different people label folders differently. Woo-wee. Yes. And along with that, Denise, I want to encourage you. One of the checklists to consider is a checklist about how your file and folder naming convention. I did this with someone, and it was amazing because they had never thought about being intentional, not only themselves, but for their team on what the naming structure would be. It reduced their stress, it reduced my stress, and it reduced everybody else's stress because we were all using the same naming structure to name files and folders. There's no one right way. The right way is the way that you and your team will use it and stay consistent. So getting that naming set up is a great way to start with the checklist. And then the second part is getting your assets added to Dropbox. So we've covered the material tonight. If you have a comment that you'd like to drop in or a question, feel free to do so. And if you don't have anything else, we're going to wrap it up tonight and get out of here. I'll give you a second to catch up. And while you're doing that, remember you can connect with me at florencedonald.live. And the main thing at florencedonald.live is use the appointment to book just 15 minutes with me to have a conversation about your ecosystem, things that you're struggling with that perhaps I can help you with. There's no obligation, but that quick 15-minute conversation can either give you a direction to head in, or it can let you know how you and I can work together to help you get your ecosystem organized. The other thing is, if you have not, please remember to subscribe, especially if you're on the replay. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so that as I go live, and I promise you I'm going to be putting up videos regularly in the not too distant future. I keep changing my mind about what they're going to be. But subscribe to the channel. I'm so thankful and grateful for each and every one of you who have joined this small community but powerful and growing community, because the aim is to give you value, answer your questions, and help you be more productive. As I say, remove the friction, fix the friction in your productivity system. So that's all I got tonight, folks. We're going to go ahead and close this out. And I'm going to say good night. And over here is going to be a link to the playlist where you can get the videos or the live streams on checklist for the month of August. Good night, everybody.